I would be surprised if I ever book another professional ground again. The SFL isn't the Super League, but it is Super League-ish.
Highgate Albion, they came into the league, won everything, and now they've gone. How do you feel about that?
I don't know if I'm surprised or disappointed. I'm one of them.
It's boring.
But, you know,
we don't want to see that. We see that.
No, you can't objectively say it's boring.
I can.
No, because the games are still exciting.
Best league in London, in your opinion? What's going on, people, and welcome back to Rootz TV, and we are in West London, my home. Retri passed behind us, but I'm joined by my man, Jamal Horn. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, not bad. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Enjoying the nice British weather.
It is a good day today.
Yeah, it is, surprisingly. You know, hopefully it holds out for the duration of this interview. But yeah, how you doing, though?
Yeah, not bad. Season's slowed down a bit now. So had a little bit of a slowdown. We'll get a little bit of a break here and there. But yeah, all good.
Awesome, awesome. I know you haven't got much time, so again, we're going to get straight into it. But before we get into like the main questions, I want to start a segment I've started called On the Social, where I read out some tweets from the grassroots community and you give me your take on them. Mm-hmm. All right? So the first one is, if you park at enough football grounds, it will happen to you. Guess it is my turn. Didn't even notice the ball print and crack till this morning. Laugh out loud. Who's that from?
Yeah, that's from me, yeah. I remember that. So yeah, the referee in a step 4 match at Cray Valley. And I remember refereeing the match, centre half went into a challenge, real strong challenge. And it went flying over the stand. And my brain was thinking, based on that trajectory, my car might be in a bit of trouble. But yeah, anyone who knows that ground, it's a bit dark. So got into the car after the game. And then, woke up the next morning, saw the crack on the windscreen. The crack is still there, actually, but there was a ball print on it, as you can probably see from the picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, you park on a football grounds, flat tires, cracked windscreen is gonna happen.
Damn.
Don't say you work in football unless that happens to you. So I'll tell you that much.
Oh gosh. Right, next one. I don't always see eye to eye with Podcast Selk or Ref Support UK, but I do stand with them that ref abuse is ruining our game and leading to the worst ref shortage our game has ever seen. This has led to refs doing more games than their bodies can handle, leading to injuries.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been a few years ago now, because we're getting to a stage now where there's a lot of signs that the referee shortage is coming to an end, which is great. A lot of people up and down the country have had to put in a lot of work delivering referee courses and supporting referees to recruit more people into refereeing and to retain the existing ones. But yeah, referee abuse doesn't help. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors that are like, socioeconomic factors, so on and so forth, educational factors, because those are also some massive forces that take people out of refereeing, mostly because of job progression or educational progression like university. But referee abuse doesn't help, especially anything more. But yeah, I remember that tweet. You don't see eye to eye with a lot of people over a lot of things, but when it comes to referee abuse, especially serious referee abuse, we all come together then, because none of us will support that.
That's what we don't want. A discussion needs to take place as to why a Sunday League Cup final is being held on a Sunday night at 7:45 p.m. How are family members who travel meant to attend?
Yeah, so we go from one shortage to another. So you're looking at seeing some clear signs of the referee shortage being completed, but now there's a facility shortage, and it can be quite difficult, even for someone like myself, working for a county football association. Block bookers have much more power when it comes to booking venues than someone like myself has. I might only book a ground once or twice for a cup final all season, and a football club who doesn't have their own ground, or does but doesn't have any 3G facilities or floodlight facilities, might book your ground every Saturday for 32 weeks, 28 weeks, whatever. So when it's time to actually book venues for cup finals, it can be quite difficult to find. Then secondly, it's my own individual principle of trying to find a venue from where both teams are based. I was given a Sunday Cup final back in 2012 on my way up. It was at Barking, and one team was from Wimbledon, the other team was from Croydon. And as a result of that, the final was it was a good game, but there was no crowd because it was too far out of the area for both teams. And I said to myself then, if I ever get into any sort of position of power, I'm never going to have that. So the good thing about that is you try to pick a venue that's close for both teams. The problem with that is I have to wait for the semi-finals first to narrow down who's going to be in it. So therefore my booking is quite late. So you try to find a venue that's close or close to both teams, especially if they're both in the same area. The problem with that is you have to book the venue a lot later. So I have to book that venue in March for an April final, rather than what a lot of other people do is book the venue from August for an April final, having no idea who's going to be in the final. So as a result of that, you can get the venue, but you have much less of the pick of the litter for kickoff times.
Okay.
So I haven't received too many complaints, but I have received a few. I mean, over the 6 seasons, I would have delivered nearly 150 cup finals now, and I've only would have had complaints from about maybe 7 or 8 of them, and that would have been one. So
For context, that was the Hatch Lane versus Trabzonspor London Cup final.
Yeah.
That tweet was from.
Yeah, I think we did kick off earlier than that though, but it was in the evening. It was still pretty well attended, still a really good final. Obviously, when you have 2 good teams, it doesn't really matter what time to kick off or where. But I think that final was supposed to be in South London, but it's Hatch Lane versus Trabs. I mean, the question is, and it'll be debate probably for another show, if that was the case, would they have preferred it to have been an earlier kickoff, but in South London, or in West London instead? But that would be an interesting one. But I appreciate tweets like that. Tweets like that help you to keep you honest, and it helps you to keep taking in feedback, because as you might be doing a good job, but it's impossible to please everyone. So you need to get that feedback to please as much people as possible.
Okay. Next one is, can someone please explain this to me, why I have to pay for a cup I don't want to enter, and you wonder why clubs want to leave?
That's interesting, because we get, county football associations get all the blame for that. But it's just a bit of a tug of war between 2 different county cups, and the league. So basically any team, like a lot of teams who are based on the fringes of more than one county. So whether that be London and Surrey, Kent and Sussex, or London and Kent, wherever. So some teams would prefer to join, if they're a London FA team, they might prefer to join a Surrey or a Kent Cup because of the travel, less congestion. It might be farther distances, but less congestion, lower travel time. So then what would happen is a league would then say, due to their own fixtures, which we'll have to respect, you can only enter 1 county cup, so they've got to choose. But if you're a London FA affiliated club, you have to enter the London FA Cup if you want to enter the Surrey FA Cup, for example.
Yeah.
Because you can't allow all your teams to then just enter another county's cup, building up their own county, and what about your own? So the compromise was you pay to enter the London FA Cup and don't enter it, and then go and play in the Surrey Cup, for example. So that's kind of like to disincentivize teams from doing it without restricting them. So I was not too happy about that tweet, trying to put it in their shoes. I probably would feel the same way. I don't know if I'd tweet about it or X about it, whatever we're calling it now, but I would definitely feel that way. So overall, I have to appreciate the tweet. I have to understand where they're coming from.
Okay. So next tweet is, come on Liam, you can do better than this. At Beckenham Town FC, please don't believe anything Liam types. I don't work in the discipline department. I had nothing at all to do with your case or investigation. Liam is just adding 2 plus 2 together and is getting the earth is flat.
Okay. All right.
So this is around the wall incident at Beckenham Town. Serious allegations were made, but obviously Liam, who was on the side of Beckenham Town in terms of pleading their innocence, and then this was the response. Personally,
I understand social media has a lot of negativity in it. This is the part of social media that I actually can appreciate, even though it was leading to fire to myself. I have to appreciate, not necessarily Liam individually, I don't know him, but it's good that people can have a platform to speak up if they want to defend any particular situation. A lot of people, especially a lot of white people, wanted to defend Beckenham once some of the allegations were a bit unclear about what the situation was. And if those allegations were unfounded, they wanted to say, wait a second, Beckenham are getting a lot of heat because of this, and this isn't right. So you have to respect people speaking up. But then the problem with social media news reporting, in a way, is they aren't a professional news outlet, so there's basically no fact checking. And you need to understand what my role is. I understand a lot of people think I'm powerful or influential. Whatever you think, I'm nowhere near as powerful and influential as you think, especially when it comes to discipline cases. I don't even work in that department. So, you know, someone is making a comment, not fact checking, but is commenting on what their perception is, that I'm involved or cleaning things up or whatever. But that wasn't the case. But that whole situation, I'm glad it's over. That wasn't a great situation for anyone involved in grassroots football.
And then last tweet is, forcing them to find a new home is one thing, is the timing that is very bad. It will be tough for AFC Hammersmith Town to find a league this late in the day. And this is in regards to AFC Hammersmith Town trying to find a league. This was a couple seasons ago. Tried to apply for the Middlesex Sunday League, I believe, and was rejected because they were too good.
Yeah, and that can be deemed fair. So yeah.
So yeah, that was the response to that tweet there.
Yeah, it's not just AFC Hammersmith. There's about I'll try not to go into too many details, but there's several clubs who I've always felt a little uncomfortable how they're treated. So it's no different than you going and visiting some of your family who live in a different part of the world, a different part of the country, and your family is cool, and you see how they're treating the kids, and it's just it's not too bad, but it's like, yeah, you know, I don't really feel too comfortable about that, and it depends on your mentality if you're going to speak up or you're just going to let it happen in front of you. So I'm Cups and Competitions Officer at London FA. Part of my job description is to assist teams in the competitions that they play in, county cups and league competitions. So that's when it kind of made it difficult when certain teams are just trying to find a decent home to play at so they can play every week. And it's almost as if they just can't find a suitable home. And that leads to what it's led to. So that's that. Read into that as you wish.
Okay, right. So that's enough of the tweets now. Let's get into the conversation regarding this season. So, this season as a whole, how have you found it? Plus, minuses. We're not going to talk about SFL League just yet, but overall, how have you found it?
I think this season, it all depends what sort of prism you're looking through, but it's so difficult to comment on it during and then after. During is like you're still in that sort of chaotic period. At the end now, looking back at it, it seemed okay. Definitely not perfection, probably not even close to perfection, but there are just so many. If you're talking about elite Sunday grassroots, even if you're not speaking about just elite Sunday grassroots and Saturday grassroots, overall, a lot of things are going pretty well. There might be fringes of a referee shortage, but people are getting referees mostly. There might be getting to the depths of a venue shortage, facility shortage, but people are getting decent quality pitches. Not everyone, but people are getting decent quality facilities to play at. So the competitions that are supposed to be maximally competitive seem to be. The ones that aren't seem to be working on it. And even if there is a bit of an imbalance, all the leagues and the competitions seem to have a decent promotion relegation system. So if a team is, for instance, winning 18 games, you play 18 matches in the league, you should be dropping points in at least 4 or 5 of them on average. So if you're winning 17 matches, 1 draw, anyone who's winning unbeaten, anyone with a plus 75 goal difference, at least they're getting promoted to a higher standard, and those other teams can then play against teams of their own ability. So when you're looking at all of those, there isn't a lot to complain about, really. I'm not trying to ignore anyone's feedback or what they've struggled with, but at the same time, overall, as a County FA employee, there isn't too much to be upset or complain about. Overall, I would say it's good.
Okay, let's get to the London Cup final. So, the cup final that we all wanted. Let's face facts. The cup final that we all wanted: Baiteze versus SC Dons, the two powerhouses of YouTube football. How was it from your point of view? Because from a fan point of view, fantastic, great to see. Near enough 2,500 fans rocking up to a League One stadium. But from your point of view, how did it go?
Man, it really does depend what day you catch me.
Because you was mega busy on the day. For a start.
Yeah.
But also, did it cover costs? Did it exceed expectations? Talk us from that point of view.
Yeah. All right. I'll be as careful with my words and open at the same time.
Okay.
So, because a lot of people that need to be, a lot of entities that need to be respected. But at the same time, people want to hear. You can't come on a show like this and just be quiet. Okay. I think just to address a few things you said, to be PC, probably say 2 of the biggest grassroots teams in the world. 2 of the biggest in the country, obviously by default, and 2 of the biggest in London. Definitely one of the ideal cup final matchups, because with the London Sunday Challenge Cup, respectfully to SC Dons and Baiteze, there are about what 12, maybe 15 different cup final matchups that we all will want to see. In terms of fan favorites, this is probably number one. So it was the biggest sort of, I won't say wake up call, the biggest learning curve that I probably ever had in my career as an adult. Understanding how big grassroots football is, but it's not about understanding how big it is, it's about understanding its actual size. Because I made a lot of errors, especially with overestimating the size.
Right.
Now, obviously,
in terms of the attendance, you thought it was going to be a big
in terms of the
attendance.
whole profile of everything. Now, obviously, people can go back to it was great. Everyone who is above me at London FA or the National FA was incredibly happy. They were happy with the safety. They were happy with the organization, logistics, operations. But what are all those things? Boring. You know, if you want to work in football one day, you want to work in security one day, yeah, you want to be a referee or manage your own club, then all those sorts of things are need to know stuff. But if you're a football fan, I don't care about the operations, man. Talk about the game.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, for me, it was a learning curve to understand what the size is. Yes, 3,000 people at a final is amazing. It's record-breaking, especially considering that Baiteze had their semi-final the week before.
Yeah.
So, yes, if there was more time to promote, if the game wasn't played on the same day as the North London Derby, you know, could the attendance been up 10%, 20%, double,
Even
triples?
the same day as the Nationals as well.
You know, it's the same thing as National Cup final, even though I don't think that took away too much, but it still would have taken 200 or 300 and, you know. So, yeah, made a lot of mistakes with that. I don't know what headline you'll use for this, but, you know, I'll speak carefully enough to where I won't care whichever one you use.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if I ever book another professional ground again.
Yeah.
You can never say never, because you're always open to it, but the costs were pretty extreme. And
I can imagine.
Yeah, luckily for me, I've had a good 6-season run, but I cost the association thousands of pounds. And then obviously the association they were accepting of that because their first priority was safety. So they're like, okay, well, that money loss is completely fine because there was no report of crime, no report of injury. And obviously when you're running an event like that, you're worried about slip and falls. You're worried about sudden cardiac arrest. So with none of those things happening,
Apart from the injury on the pitch.
so other than that, yes, of course, obviously, it's hard to say that, but
I know
when you're running an event, on the pitch injuries are
it's part and parcel.
part and parcel.
Yeah, I get it.
Especially the way that person got injured, like it wasn't even like a bad tackle or a punch or anything. It was just literally natural.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you know, all the London FA brass were happy. A lot of them were there in the organisation, the celebrities, the important people, and then, but you know, from my end, you know, a lot of people look up to me. Some maybe even admire me, and the people who don't like me still understand my position. I can't go to those people who I write references for, who I provide work experience for, who I provide volunteering experience for, who I've gotten jobs, and make them say, hey, it's okay to cost your business thousands of pounds. Absolutely no.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so it hit me hard. I was so disappointed.
Would it be fair to say that you kind of overestimated how many people that you thought was going to attend? Because did you see like the amount? Was it like a case of, okay, Baiteze's got X amount of subscribers, SC Don's got X amount of subscribers, the ground holds what, 10K, we can easily fill that?
Yeah. I mean, well, the problem is when you're dealing with operations, you have to prepare for the any possible scenario. And if a venue holds 9,200, unfortunately, I couldn't guarantee that 9,200 people wouldn't turn up. I couldn't guarantee it. I told them it's unlikely. I put it into single digits of percentage likelihood. But once you do that, I then have to pay for security for 9,200. You know, you then have to pay for food for 9,200, all those sorts of things. And that's where the problem lies. Now, for anyone who's booking venues, because there's going to be people watching this who will run competitions in the future or run cup finals or tournaments, there's no such thing as a perfect venue. A lot of people love the venue. Some of the teams are arriving and they're like, well, where's the parking? You know, then you go to a different venue, there's plenty of parking, but then there's not enough seated stands.
Yeah.
You know, there's no covered areas. Or you go to a different ground, you have to pay for park. There's no such thing as a perfect venue. With this, you know, it kind of highlighted how good I am at running events to a certain standard when going to that professional standard. Still quite good, but not at that level yet, because I've definitely miscalculated a few things. Yeah, looking at subscribers, looking at followers, looking at attendance in previous matches, then you have to look at other things, kickoff time. What other games are on? National Cup final, North London derby. And it's not just any North London derby. If Arsenal and Tottenham were 7th and 8th, it wouldn't have been that important. But because it had title and Champions League connotations to it, and people wanted to watch that. So there's a lot of factors, and even I have an algorithm that I calculate for all finals, but this isn't like all finals. So that algorithm didn't compute out. Then when you're looking at other YouTube matches, charity matches, you look at the sidemen, because that was definitely another barometer that people were looking at.
Yeah.
And like, oh, well, that sold out 27,000 so much, I had to go to a 60,000 seat stadium, an international Olympic stadium, and then that sold out. And you're like, oh yeah, but these teams don't have the profile of the sidemen. You're like, okay, but how much smaller are they?
Yeah.
If they got 6,000, are they 10%? They're at least 10% the profile of the sidemen. So surely at least 6,000 people will turn, and you're going that and that and that and this and this and this. So that's why the security, the operations, logistics was so great. That's why the event was so well organized, because we had more than what we needed.
Yeah.
So, but
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe for next time, a little bit lower, maybe National League rounds, Dulwich Hamlets, that sort of size attendance would be suitable, because
AFC Wembley wasn't the first choice. It's supposed to be at Wingate and Finchley.
Okay,
but then the capacity was a lot smaller than expected.
So I would have preferred that, me personally. Like I like the fact that it was in the stadium for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it misses that essence of hearing the crowd, which the crowd was loud. I had my back to the predominant SC Dons fans and all the rest of it, and I could hear the Baiteze fans on the other side. But I kind of missed that element of just grassroots being grassroots. You go to a normal Sunday League game, a normal SC Dons game, and you've got all the punters, all the fans pretty much on the touchline. I kind of missed that.
Yeah, I mean, so I just think,
hindsight's a wonderful thing.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of us aren't British. Okay? So a lot of us, where we were born or where we grew up or where our parents grew up, having certain matches in a stadium always kind of killed the vibe. Some of my best experiences, I've lived in 4 different countries. I wasn't born in Britain. Some of my favorite experiences was a ring around the pitch. Better than, and we have those conversations all the time, FA Youth Cup matches, extra preliminary FA Cup matches, or any sort of charity match. You have to have the right size based on the attendance. Now, I think in terms of atmosphere, acoustics, the attendance, and AFC Wimbledon, I think I was really happy about that. Because while I'm running around working on the outside, one of my head of security we heard, I think Baiteze had a chance, so the crowd went really loud. And it sounded like 15,000 people, because we couldn't see.
Yeah.
So the acoustics and all that was perfect. And then on top of that, remember, they only wanted me to open one stand. I said, no, I'm not in that. So kind of like how the Nationals was between Highgate and Baiteze.
Yeah.
And everyone was in the main stand. So, and then you put the camera on the main stand, so you're looking over to empty seats. Like, no. And the main stand was absolutely packed. So I said, no, I don't care. I want as close to a ring around the pitch, so we had to negotiate on 3 sides.
Yeah.
So that's why you had 3 sides around, because it needs to be surrounded. And then don't forget playing. You don't like playing. I was a wing back. I don't like playing on the side where there's no fans.
Yeah.
You either want a mixture or just go back to the pitch on the side. So it is what it is. We see it in football. We see it in futsal. You see it in basketball. You can have a game in an arena, but everyone wants to have it at Rucker Park, and it's just surrounded. The fans are just surrounded.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot to learn from it. But coming back, I would be surprised if I hire another professional ground. But everyone did overall seem to be really happy with it.
Awesome. Right, let's get into SFL. So, 2 seasons in now, would you deem it as a success or a failure?
That's interesting. From a county FA standpoint, you definitely say it's a success. You have to forget how difficult it is to kick a ball in an existing team and an existing league. Speak to anyone who started their own team, it doesn't really matter. Once you kick a ball in that team and they have a kit, that's a success. I'm sorry. It isn't easy to get a ball kicked. So the SFL have to be proud of that. And then there was always a possibility that, there was some sort of expectation that the league would fold after a season or 2. That's the main reason why certain members of London FA didn't want to sanction it. So for the SFL to be going into a 3rd season, then what was constantly being fed to me was that, SFL is going to be groundbreaking. I'm like, okay, the U2 teams in one league, a significant amount of really good teams in one league, that's groundbreaking as it is, but what else is going to be groundbreaking? And then now, when the youth division was started, I was like, oh, okay, I hear you. then not to be announced, the potential teams for next season have been listed. Can't really say yet because nothing's been confirmed. So some of the
Who are we
teams that may
looking
be
at? Come on,
entering,
man.
some of the teams, no, it's no one you're thinking of. I can tell you that much.
Okay.
And then, so that could be groundbreaking as well because there's an official player pathway. Now, sorry to be so boring, but from a county FA standpoint, we always think for any adult league, and there's a lot of really good adult Sunday leagues, but the question is always kind of like, well, where, it's cool, it's 2024, but 2029, when 67% of your teams fold because no team lasts forever, where are your next set of teams going to come through? So it's really interesting how SFL addressed that by having a youth divisions. Now, I don't know if those youth teams will then come into men's teams, but at least they have a player pathway because that's very important for the development department side of London FA. Player pathway is very important. So where are all these youth players going to go? When all these adult teams fold, what's going to happen? Are they going to go to vets? You know, and there's supposed to be, you know, youth, open age, we call adult, vets, and then walking football. So there's a four-step pathway.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting for SFL to start that. But even though I think it's difficult to objectively not call it a success. Like I think if you're trying to be objective, it is a success. At the same time, it's different than what I expected. I definitely expected it to be a bit more like the Replay Me League, a little bit more flashy, a little bit more media.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened, but to be honest with you, it's all about football. It's about fixtures, results, and getting games on, really.
It's interesting you mentioned about folding because the streets are saying SFL stands for Stop Folding, lads.
That's good. I haven't heard that one before.
Because again, quite a few teams are folded. M Boys are folded. The Wall are folded.
It's a lot of folding over the 2 years. Yeah.
Folded.
It's a lot of folding. Yeah. I mean,
what are you doing to kind of help stop that? Because that's the last thing you want.
No, well, don't forget because the SFL is one division. The folding has been a bit more highlighted. If you go through any of the leagues, you see a lot of asterisks. You see, or a lot of 7 zeros at the bottom next to a team's name. So, because this isn't professional football. Okay, this isn't professional football. Okay, well, what is it? Well, it's amateur football. Okay, well, what's above amateur football? Non-league semi-professional football is. Okay, well, Thurrock, Thamesmead Town, East Thurrock, Croydon Athletic, Whiteleaf. There's a long list of semi-professional teams who haven't been able to stay afloat. So you have to remember, folding is part of it. Secondly, I still think one day the European Super League will start. The SFL isn't the Super League, but it is Super League-ish. Okay, and that's always been the issue with the European Super League is, how you gonna have Arsenal, Juventus, Bayern, all these teams? Someone has to finish bottom. So are Bayern Munich or Arsenal or Spurs prepared to finish bottom 3 years in a row? Then if so, what would you do? You'd probably go back to the Premier League or the Bundesliga. So it's kind of what's happened with the SFL. You've got teams who are at least used to being at the very worst mid-table, and you come in and you're struggling to get wins. And then people don't want to turn up anymore. That means one individual has to then start paying for everything, and then eventually you fold. So that's definitely been a learning process. Even as me, as a county FA employee, didn't expect that amount of folding. Then looking at it from the whole picture and realizing, okay, well, percentage-wise, it's about normal for most leagues. But at the same time, that was a surprise. So you still say it's a success, but that's definitely a con for sure.
One thing that's definitely taken a few pelters is the difference in structure, or should I say the rules, playing each other once, the playoffs at the end, and then even who's won. Like even I was confused, like who's actually won the league this season. Is it Highgate? Is it AFC Hammersmith Town, who obviously pretty much went on unbeaten this season, but obviously lost the final game? What's your response to that?
I think people think anything that's new is confusing. I mean, for the most part, it is at first.
Who did win the league anyway?
Well, Highgate with the champion. Whoever wins the league playoff is the champion. Okay. I mean, as far as I understand the format, it's pretty simple to me. But maybe because this was in discussions from just before COVID, maybe I'm just used to the understanding of it. But it isn't difficult. I just think the teams wanted 3 competitions or three trophies to win. One is a league cup, or one is a league title, one's a league championship. So, if you, for me, it's not that difficult. I think.
So AFC Hammersmith Town have the league.
So they finish top. So it's kind of like in the Bundesliga, you get the Winter Champions crest or whatever. So they finish top, you get a trophy for finishing top, but that's not the league title because you only play each other once.
Right.
So, I mean, for me, I was speaking to Drew, Drew and DeQuincy, let's not forget the little individuals who run the league. They absolutely hate when people say I run the league because obviously they're the ones doing the groundwork. But when they're speaking to me, they're like, okay, well, what should you do? I said, well, just put a social media post out saying who the league champions are. Really simple. That went out and people are still confused. I'm like, I'm not too sure masses of people are confused. But at the same time, county cups.
You can see why that you are seen as the face of it though, right? Because people do associate you as the
I'm
face.
coming to that next because
Alright,
it's coming. It's all relevant.
All right.
County Cups has always been what people really want. Okay, Premier League, people will love it. People will parade it. When they win a Champions League, like, come on, like that's what Chelsea fans always say. Champions League. They mention the Premier League as well, but Champions League, come on, it's special. No one has ever said, oh, New Salamis, how many times have they won the league? Oh, St. Joe's, how many times they won the league? No, what do you say? You say Nationals, you say London, they won London Cup, they're the only team to win back-to-back, or 3 times in a row, or whatever. So if teams want to do that and other leagues have an issue where they don't allow you to enter more than 1 county cup or two you can only enter 2 county cups, then it's only a matter of time before someone's going to say, but wait a second, why does everyone have to play each other twice? Because you don't. The top 4 might need to, but everyone doesn't need to play each other twice. This isn't the Premier League. The Premier League make money. Every team makes money, makes a clear profit every single home game. Same thing with the Championship. It's probably the same in Leagues 1 and 2, probably down to the National League, maybe step 2 and 3. But once you go to step 4 and below, remember, I'm a referee. I'm in these boardrooms with these chairmen, with these head of finance, with the operations managers. They hate home games. They lose. A lot of them lose money. They get attendance of 50. You know, they got pay players, pay the refs. So if you have to pay to play, why would you play each other twice? You know, that's the best method at the top level. That's the best method at the top of the National League. That's not the best method for grassroots because you're costing people money. It's not the best method it's the most common method. It's not necessarily the best method to find out who the best team is.
But a lot of these teams might say they want to play games. Like sometimes if they exit these cup competitions that they're entered into in the first round, they haven't got games for weeks upon weeks.
Mm-hmm. And no format's perfect. So if you have 2 games, everyone plays each other twice. Remember, there's only 1 winner and there's no playoffs. If you are a team, once you lose 3 matches, let's say you lose all your matches in September, you can't win the league now. So what are you doing? There's no Champions League. There's no top 4. Usually it's only the top 2 get promoted if you're not in the top division. But if you're in a Premier Division, what are you playing for then? You only enter 1 county cup. Okay, so you enter to play cups. Cups. So it's about cups then. Because the league, the Premier League is not fair. Only teams can win it.
But you got to remember, this is about participation at this level.
Sure.
So, like I said, if they've entered the cups and they've exited, that's obviously on them. But at the same time, if they're only playing their league rivals or league opposition 1 time and they haven't got games for weeks, surely that's down to participation. That's a lack of participation, right?
It is.
And that's obviously something that the FA is trying to, because obviously your main sole purpose is, right, if correct me if I'm wrong, is to try and get people participating in grassroots sport. So if they're not doing it on a weekly basis, then what?
Well, that isn't exactly true. So what you're saying would fit perfectly for any division outside of the Premier Division of any respected league. So if you look at the Prem Division of almost any league, especially what would be considered, what social media will consider some of the top leagues in London, I don't think there's going to be many players who aren't playing Saturday football. That's still participation. Remember, participation. We don't care if you play Saturday, Sunday, or midweek. So for a league like the SFL, what percentage of the players do you think is playing Saturday football and midweek football? 80, 85, 90%? So the participation is still there. For any of us who play Saturday, Sunday football, we want to play for our Sunday team, whether it's our local team, our uncle's team, whatever, like I did. I don't want to play every Sunday though. So that comes back down to player welfare as well. Because under the playing each other twice method, if you're in the Prem Division, so it only really applies to those, they're being asked to play each other twice, plus several cups, plus county cups, plus maybe even nationals as well. So when you look at it like that, it's like, oof, does everyone want to do that? So the discussion from what I was told about from the teams was, no, actually, at first, didn't really like the format, but starting to see the value in it because you're playing when you want to play, you're not being forced to play every week, and each game means more. When you lose 3 games in your first 3 games, and you haven't even gotten beaten, you just lost by 1 goal, refereeing error, goalkeeper error, you now statistically are basically unlikely of winning the league. You have now 15 games left to play. What exactly are you playing for? Oh, it's about participation. Well, no, come on. People have a right to compete as well. So I don't want people to see it as playing each other twice is great, playing each other once is terrible. No, evaluate, okay? It doesn't fit everyone, but it fits those teams. I guarantee you, I wouldn't be surprised if some other leagues adopt that format within the next 5 seasons.
Okay. Talk to me about some of the teams that are not in this league. In my eyes, you guys are ducking this league. That's how I'm saying it. You don't have to say it, I'll say it for you. Because again, if they're not in the league, that's supposed to be the Super League, yes, I'll use it in air quotes, then you're ducking the league. AKA Hatch Lane, Baiteze, Olympia, I don't know if they're going to be in there or not. Highgate Albion, which we'll get onto as well. You know, coming, winning, and ducking out. Like,
Yeah, man, that was. I don't know if I'm surprised or disappointed. I'm one of them.
so talk to me about those teams. Why are they running from the SFL? What was their reservations?
Okay.
Because obviously there was talks around getting Baiteze and Hatch Lane involved at the start, if I'm correct.
I mean, I think a lot of us would have lost a lot of money if we bet, because I would have expected there would have been no way those teams wouldn't have been. At least most of those teams wouldn't have been in the SFL. But the reality is what the reality is. Forget about SFL. Just talking about good teams not joining any particular league. I mean, no league is perfect. Then you got to look at travel. Then you got to look at what their players want. Then you got to look at comfort zone, because I'm sorry, you have a right to stay in your comfort zone. This isn't university or some sort of individual progression pathway. Like, well, mate, you need to come out your comfort zone, otherwise you're never going to grow. You're never going to reach your full potential. This isn't the army. Teams want to play for fun. If teams want to play for fun or compete within their comfort zone, they have a right to. And for me, from what I can see as a county FA employee, that's what I see. I see they have a comfort zone there. They're still going to be able to play these teams in the London Cup. Olympia, Baiteze, Hatch Lane, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. When you draw one of those types of teams, you think to yourself, oh no. Yeah, Olympia, even when Olympia lose, even when Olympia play terrible, they're still difficult to beat. I felt SC Dons outplayed them in the semi-final so far, and it still went to extra time. I go to a different cup final, a Barnet Cup final. Olympia just didn't really turn up, and they still only lose 1-0, and that team had to scrape to beat them. So even when they're terrible, they're still difficult to beat. And when they're good, when those teams are good, it's a long day. These are teams who would easily compete step 4, step 3 in the National League system, probably would go to step 2 and survive. You're dealing with some really, really good players. However, they're not joining the SFL. There's loads of reasons. Travel, comfort zone, what's in it for them? You know, I think travel's probably the biggest one, because it is a South London dominated league. And, you know, even though the travel probably wouldn't be as bad as they think, you know, and then there's the backlash. What happens if you don't like it? Can you then go back to your original league? It's difficult. So it's a lot of risk. I'm not sure the risk is worth the reward for them in their eyes. At the same time, how many times are you going to win your league?
Exactly. Yeah. But it also leads me on to Highgate Albion. They came into the league, one season, won everything pretty much, and now they've gone. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so definitely a surprise. Definitely a surprise, but I think from their management team, it might just be a bit of clever management, because I'm sorry, there's no such thing as control, you know. Like, come on, I work for County FA, I run, you know, 30, 40 competitions, I'm a referee, you're not in control of anything. Meaning you'll always be dictated to by your players. And I think if their players were a bit uncomfortable with the travel or just didn't want to, then, you know, the management team have to listen to that. You've got to listen to that, I'm sorry, you have to. If that's what it was for them, then fine. But, you know, as you can see by the results, London Cup winners, National Cup finalists, you know, every single time they didn't win the London Cup, the winner has had to come through them. You know, if they win whatever league they go in, they win. You know, I mean, it is an excellently run team, as you can see. So, yeah, shout out to them. But no, definitely, I don't know, what adjective am I going to go for? I'm going to go surprised. Definitely surprised they left after one season. I know the SFL definitely aren't happy, because I remember De Quincy saying he wouldn't have let them in if he knew they were going to do that. But I don't think they knew they were going to do that, so it just is what it is. Okay.
Any room for improvements or changes for next season?
There's room for, I'm sorry to be cliche, there's always room for improvement. I advise leagues on as much as I can. Obviously, the more established leagues need much less guidance. So that comes on to the point why people think that I run the SFL. It's because it's no different than having children or having players that you manage. If you have players who are fit, they don't need your attention as much as the injured player. You know, the SFL were a new league, and also respectfully, it is what it is. It's a black-run league as well. If I was Greek and a new Greek league started, if I was Jewish and a new Jewish league started, if I was Turkish and a new Turkish league started, you would expect that FA or London or County FA employee to assist that team of their own community. Now, I do it for all leagues. Most leagues are right running, is what it is. And I assisted plenty of leagues on their either with their changeover or with their inception or with their expansion. I'm always a phone call away. It's part of my job. I was doing it before this role anyway. So obviously, SFL took a bit more attention than other leagues. Barnet League, Southern Sunday League, Essex Corinthian League, these are established multi-division massive leagues that basically have employees in a way, the volunteers, but they take it seriously like jobs. They just don't need as much assistance. They probably need 1 or 2 phone calls from me a season, if that. They're so independent they didn't need that. And during the Quincy just needed a bit more assistance. That's what it was.
Okay. I'm just going to get into a couple quick fire questions before we move into some scenarios. So, best league in London, in your opinion?
Okay. Have to be PC. So I would definitely say the best leagues in London. Definitely SFL, Barnet League, and Essex Corinthian. I'm only saying that because of the London Cup winners. So I'm trying to make it factual.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean the London Cup. Don't forget, there's 3 London Sunday Cups. There's not going to be 4, starting 24-25. So if you look at the winners, it's the usual suspects. Hatch Lane, Highgate Albion, Olympia, or if they're not winning, they get to the final. Hammersmith Town, SC Dons, Baiteze, they all seem to be coming from those leagues.
Okay. Best cup competition?
I'm biased, I think it's London Cup, sorry. National Cup is inches away from doing so. The problem with the National Cup is the regionalisation. They can keep they think that they're being asked to scrap regionalisation. So a team from Portsmouth can play a team from Newcastle. No, they're saying to reshape your regions. So either extend them or to stop having teams play each other from the same.
It's boring.
You know,
we don't want to see that. We see that.
No, you can't objectively say it's boring.
I can.
No, because the games are still exciting.
Yeah,
the games are still great. But the games are still great, and that's their point.
Said it's boring. Don't worry.
Sorry.
I can see. No. I can see this.
The games are not boring though.
No, but okay.
I know what you mean.
The prospect of seeing SC Dons play Baiteze in the first round is boring because I've seen it so many times. Like if they were in the same league, I'll just use them as an example. People want to see, and I speak to enough people within grassroots. People want to see SC Dons versus a St Joe's
like Chatham or something
like that from early on. I don't want to have to wait to the final 16.
Well, the problem is
that's what I meant by boring.
The biggest issue with the regionalisation is those teams are willing to travel. There was a time where the teams were a bit hesitant on traveling in the early rounds, and the nationals adjusted to that very, very well. Before that, remember, it was just county cup winners. Because I'm kind of leaning toward that as well. But they're opening the competition because to make it more inclusive, and I think it's great. At the same time, they need to expand the regions. If they do that, then it will be hands down the best competition. But as of now, I think the London Cup is right now.
Okay, best team in London.
No, it's hard to go against Baiteze right now. I'm sorry. You have to listen. Life is about a lot of life is about respect, and your opinions have to be respectful. To not say Baiteze would be disrespectful to them, because remember they're not getting results. Okay, it's performance and results. People are upset about Gareth Southgate in England because the results are there, but the performance isn't quite there. Baiteze are winning and winning in an exciting fashion. You know, so no, I'm sorry. And SC Dons are up there. Olympia, a fantastic team. Highgate Albion, Hammersmith Town, all these teams. I see some Southern Sunday teams coming up as well. Got my eye on some of them. I see some of them coming up. So there's a lot of good teams out there. But no, if you're talking about the best, it has to be Baiteze for now.
And one that's close to your heart, best referee in London.
There's so many different levels. I mean, what do you mean, like grassroots level?
Yeah.
Talk about on the spot. Who had the best season last season? That's an interesting one. Yeah, a name springs to mind. I won't say it because yeah.
Come on, man, you might as well say it. You can't say the name. Is it Daryl?
Name's Darrell. He doesn't referee grassroots, so he wouldn't be eligible for that technically. But no, I have to say a referee that referees are grassroots. So there's some good ones out there.
Dimitri?
Dimitri's had a good season. There's a few things he needs to look at, but he's had a good season. He had a difficult end, but that happens for a lot of people in football. Jack Heath's had a good season. Robert Campbell's had a good season. You got good referees up there. I'm hearing a lot of good things about Sam Rose. A lot of good referees out there. But refereeing isn't like playing. You can't. It's difficult to choose one outright. Sort of, there's no cup finals like that for referees. So
maybe there should be.
Yeah, maybe there should be.
All right. So you're used to these. I'm going to give you these. I'm going to give you some scenarios and tell me what you would do in these scenarios.
Okay.
All right, so the first scenario is, it's a charity game for a guy who's raising money for mental health. He's just scored the winner in the 89th minute and he's taking his shirts off to reveal the charity sponsor. Mm-hmm. What would you do?
Nothing, no further action.
No yellow card, no? Why is that?
No. Don't forget, so, sorry, we're turning this into a referee podcast now. All right, obviously, Law 12, fouls of misconduct, make it state that it's a unsporting behavior for any form of excessive celebration, goal celebration. Law 5, which is about the referee and the other officials, mandates that you're also supposed to referee within the spirit of the game. If I'm talking about myself as an individual, this isn't the opinion of the Football Association, UEFA, or FIFA. However, in regards to me refereeing, if a player's mama just passed away and he took a shirt off to show a picture of her holding him when he was a child, I'm not cautioning him. So I'm not giving him a yellow card for that. And that's similar to what your scenario is. So I wouldn't do that. I would also probably advise other referees to not do that in that situation. If you're refereeing a step 3 playoff semi-final or something like that and he takes his shirt off, that's different. I would yellow card that. But that scenario, I'm not yellow carding that, sorry.
Cool. A coach has been in your liner's ear the whole game, and then they have a debatable offside goal that has been given against his team and he loses it. What do you do?
Loses it, it's a bit ambiguous. So at the very least, I'll be giving yellow card. Okay, as for all those referees watching, that is the correct yellow card signal. 1, 2, 3. Okay, not that. All right. So yeah, I would at least give a yellow card, but obviously losing it is very ambiguous. So if it crossed the threshold, I wouldn't hesitate to give a red card.
Okay. The game is 2-1, free kick to the winning side, but they're in no rush to take it. A player from the losing side collects the ball and throws the ball to the other side, and they accidentally miss it. You know how they do. Just to waste time. What do you do?
The key word there is accidental. Okay, so no further action. That wouldn't be deemed a yellow card offense to me. If it looked deliberate, like if they deliberately didn't catch the ball in any way, then I would give a yellow card.
Okay. And then the last one, a captain who feels harshly done by calls you a cheat. What do you do?
It depends on the context. At the very least, I would give a yellow card. Depending on the level, that would then be a sin bin. And depending on the length of the game, that would be an 8 or 10 minute temporary suspension from that player. When we first, it's a funny one. To the referee course of 2009, obviously things were much less diverse back then. So they teach you early on from the course, when players are saying anything to you, there are 2 C words. There are only 2 words that we definitely send off for. And I remember being at the course and I remember they said, yeah, there's only 2 words. I said, oh, okay, what are that? Cheat and the other C word, see you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, so those are the only 2 words. Like, yeah. So what happens if someone calls me the N word? Okay, so the bottom line is any referee who wants to give a red card for their integrity being questioned, fine. Please try your best not to potentially ruin the spectacle. You need to consider what you've just done as well. If you have made a pretty big error and someone calls you a cheat, especially if it's very loud, please consider, you can give it red if you want to, but consider a yellow card in the sin bin, okay? Then also clever, really good referees, experienced referees would say, excuse me, sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Then if that player repeats it, then definitely give them a red card. Or something simple as, hey, listen, I didn't hear what you said. If you repeat it, I'm gonna give you a red card. I've heard of that as well. A referee said that and the player said it again, so you give him a red card. Then instantly all the players like, Jimmy, man, he warned you. Why did you say that? So that's the quality of the management of the situation. Rather than, no, red card, you can't say the C word to me. It's like, referees, try and be open-minded, okay? Consider the yellow. If you wanna go red, fine, but consider the yellow card. Is there a need to ruin the spectacle because you made a mistake?
Okay. Can you debunk a couple of urban myths for me? So, the first one is, do refs get commission for the amount of cards they give out?
No, that's ridiculous. No.
All right. Do refs let certain tackles slide to get their own back? Say, for example, if a player's been in your ear all game and then one's left in on him and you're like, you know what, I won't give you yellow cards.
No. Referees would let something slide against a player they don't like, but usually not something physical. So if you've got a player upset, I've heard of several referees, probably all referees have done it before at least once, but in terms of people who habitually do it, they'll not give a throw in to them, and that's usually a neutral throw in the halfway line. If a player were to get physically fouled, actually fouled, not physical contact, if there's physical contact and it's 50-50, yeah, if you're in the referee's ear, you're not gonna get the 50-50. So all the players out there, don't get in the referee's ear, because you won't get a 50-50. But if it's a clear foul, you're gonna get it. Come on, a referee's not gonna compromise a player's safety. But if it's gonna be something technical, like a throw in or something like that, then yeah, you're probably not gonna get it. Getting in the referee's ear, especially aggressively and abusively, is never in your best interest, even if it seems so. Being in the referee's ear is in your best interest. Giving that referee compliments and then criticism, compliment, then criticism. The Declan Rice style, that's probably the most cleverest way to get the most out of a referee, but not a lot of players are clever.
Do refs avoid giving out cards due to the amount of admin that they have to fulfill?
I've heard of that before. So I, unfortunately, professionally can't say that's completely untrue. Now, if someone punches someone, if someone tackles someone from behind clearly, I've never met a referee who wouldn't give a yellow card to not do paperwork. If it's 8-0 and a losing team kicks the ball away into the crowd, okay? If it's a last minute game under 14s and a player scores a worldly last minute goal and it takes their shirt off, and that's the only yellow card of the game, yeah, the referee may not give a yellow card to avoid admin, but referees deliberately avoiding admin over physical offenses, no, it's not true.
Are all refs failed footballers?
That's a trick question anyway. That's a trick question because everyone who isn't a successful footballer is a failed footballer, and almost everyone involved in football is a failed footballer.
Okay. Do refs get paid more by teams to give dodgy decisions?
I've never heard of any payment from a club to a referee for an unfair advantage. In Britain, there's no element, there's basically no element of match fixing in this country in comparison to other countries where match fixing at all levels is rife. Now, if people want to laugh and joke about things, cool, laugh and joke. You want to create urban myths, urban legends, that's cool. But if I've heard of it, I wouldn't mind saying it. But I've never heard of any referee getting paid for a decision.
Okay. Right, last couple of things I want to get your opinion on. So I put up a post quite recently about a referee getting paid £50 for 6.5 hours worth of work. It's a junior competition. I think it was under 7s or under 8s. Doesn't matter about the age group, but £50 for 6.5 hours worth of refereeing. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I would guarantee you that that club or competition organizer didn't go through their county football association to book their referees as they're supposed to, because that's something we would never stand for.
Okay. How do you deal with unregistered players? Because it's popping up quite a lot recently.
Is it?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Definitely, especially in, what was it, the Mehmet Czech versus AFC Hammersmith Town game. Sorry, Dean, but I have to ask. Where I say not unregistered.
Yeah, so you're about ineligible players.
Ineligible, that's the word, sorry.
I just think, obviously, the fact of the facts, it's public knowledge, so it's not an issue. AFC Hammersmith Town were removed for fielding an ineligible player. These things do happen. In my opinion, I was close to coming to you, to Your Fresh, to Breeze, amateur footballer, and having shows about player eligibility. But to be honest with you, over the last couple of seasons, it's too rare to get enough attention. For the most part, teams are sticking to eligibility very strictly because they understand if they do get caught out, you know, they're going to be likely to be removed from a competition. So I just don't see that as an issue that's worthy of a lot of discussion. It's not really a taboo subject. It's an interesting subject for a lot of people because people want to know the ins and outs. They want to hear about historical cases. That's fine. I would never have an issue discussing that. But in terms of having content like this, it's not really worth the time. It's about one game all season that I know of in any of the leagues or London Cups or County Cups. You know, I think there was one last year in the Surrey Cup. It seemed to be quite rare.
Okay. And what's the future hold for Jamal Horn and your role at the FA?
Good question. Trying to make sure we never go back into a referee shortage again. People got to remember I'm heavy into referee development. I deliver a large percentage of all referee courses in London. So just trying to make sure we never go back to that. Those 2 years before and after COVID were terrible. So definitely don't want to go back to that. Want to make sure that the London Cup standards are maintained in terms of the delivery of it. People also need to remember, I don't just run the London Sunday Challenge Cup. I run all the London Cups from under 12s, boys and girls, all the way up to the professional game, which include the London Senior Cup, which Charlton Athletic won again this season. So I just want to ensure those standards are maintained. Then also the next sort of project I'm working on is ensuring all these young people that are coming through football have a clear pathway of getting full-time salaried positions in football. I'm tired of people having to get either lease contracts, 0-hour contracts, or pay-as-you-coach or pay-as-you-play deals. You want to get more people into football in salaried positions. Physio, analytics, discipline department, referee department, development department, playing department, whatever, player welfare department, media, content creation, whatever it is. I will be running nearly 50 cup finals next season, or running about 35 and assisting on more. So anyone who wants operational, security, logistical, match day operations experience, get in touch with me. I'll never turn down volunteers. From June to about October, I'm basically writing 10 to 15 references every week for referees, young people who've helped me out at referee courses, cup finals, and I'm helping them get to with their UCAS applications, with their GCSE, Duke of Edinburgh, job applications. The FA will need hundreds of people to become staff over the next sort of decade. London FA will need dozens of people over the next decade. That doesn't even include clubs, or other organizations, Football Foundation, Premier League. So yeah, I mean, for people like me who could have worked at Canary Wharf or in the insurance industry, accounting, finance industry, I was like, no. I felt like football owed me in a way, and I wanted to make football money even if it was less than what I was doing, because I enjoy my job. And if you enjoy your job, you never work a day in your life.
Love that, love that. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you guys for watching as always. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I know you've got places to be and people to see and games to watch as well. So yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in a bit.